My sister barged into my apartment at 6 a.m. with 2 giant suitcases and said, "I live here now. Mom said it's fine." When I told my parents I'd move out, they laughed. So I did. I emptied the place. Months later, everything crashed down on them. My name is Rachel, I'm 27, and I teach literature at a private middle school called Horizon Prep in Seattle. It's one of those rare jobs that actually make getting up early worth it. Sure, 7th graders can be tiny hurricanes with hormones, but when you see their eyes light up over a book, it almost cancels out the drama. 5 years ago, right after college, my mom dangled an offer in front of me that only a complete idiot would have turned down. "Rachel, remember Aunt Margaret's apartment?" she asked one night, pouring tea in the kitchen. It was the same kitchen Aunt Margaret had left to her in the will. Remember it? I'd spent half my childhood there, listening to Aunt Margaret's stories about the old theater crowd she used to run with and inhaling her signature eclairs. It was a 2-bedroom in an old brick building downtown, high ceilings, big windows facing a quiet courtyard. And the best part? A 10-minute walk to Horizon Prep. "So here's the thing," Mom continued. "Why would I rent it to strangers? Live there yourself. I'll give you a discount. $1,000 a month instead of $1,500. You're my daughter." There was nothing to think about. For $1,000 in the middle of Seattle? That was a gift from the universe. I moved in and started paying Mom every month, while similar places in the area were going for at least $500 more. Over the years, I poured my soul and a ridiculous amount of money into that apartment. I saved from every paycheck and renovated it room by room. Real hardwood floors, not laminate. Fresh paint on all the walls, new plumbing. I bought everything gradually. A big leather sectional, a solid wood dining table, a king-size bed with a memory foam mattress, even splurged on a huge TV for movie nights. Mom would stop by every couple of months to inspect the property, as she liked to call it. "You're a magician," she'd sigh, running her hand along the quartz countertop in the kitchen. "Aunt Margaret would be so happy to see this place now." It was nice to hear. Over the years, I'd put more than enough into renovations and furniture to buy myself a decent car, but it was worth it. This was my home, my refuge after long days with 7th graders and their teenage meltdowns. The only fly in the ointment was my younger sister, Kayla. Kayla is 23 and still lives with our parents. According to Mom, she's finding herself, which in practice means she sleeps until noon, scrolls social media all day, and is philosophically opposed to work. It's not that I don't love her. She's my sister. I've bailed her out more times than I can count. When she maxed out her credit card buying clothes, I paid off the balance. When she suddenly needed a girls' trip to Miami, I gave her the money. Last year, she whined for weeks about a new iPhone. "Rach, please!" she begged. "Everyone has the 14 Pro and I'm walking around like a loser with my old one." It was $1,400, but her happy face when she got it? At the time, I told myself it was worth it. Lately, though, our Sunday dinners at our parents' place had turned tense. "I'm so sick of Mom and Dad treating me like a child," Kayla complained at one of those dinners, poking at her salad. "I'm 23. I want my own place." "Then get a job and move out," I said, without sarcasm. Just stating the obvious. "It's not that simple. You don't understand," she huffed. My dad gave an awkward little cough. Mom instantly steered the conversation back to my work at school, like nothing had happened. The talk that really set off alarms happened about 2 months before the whole 6 a.m. incident. Kayla started up the same theme about personal space. "I can't live with our parents forever," she mused. "I'm an adult." "Great," I said. "What's the plan? How are you going to pay for an apartment without a job?" She shrugged. "I'm exploring my options." What options? I don't know yet. I'll figure something out. I didn't push. Kayla has always been the kind of person who decides everything at the last possible second. And honestly, it wasn't my problem. I had enough of my own. Lesson plans, grading essays, paying bills. After that dinner, I happily forgot about the conversation. Kayla's complaints about living with our parents were nothing new. She'd been playing that record for a year. I figured she would either finally get a job or just keep coasting at home. My life rolled along on its rails. Up at 6:30, coffee and toast, out the door to school by 7:15, classes, papers, then back to my cozy fortress. On weekends, I meal prepped for the week, binged shows on Netflix, or hung out with friends. It was a good life. The apartment had become my real home. Every object had a story. The coffee table I rescued from a thrift store and refinished with my own hands. The bookshelf overflowing from old college texts to favorite novels. The dining table where my coworkers and I celebrated every holiday. Mom was clearly proud. Every time she visited, she'd take photos for Instagram. Look what Rachel did with Aunt Margaret's place. Isn't it gorgeous? I'd invested a small fortune into that apartment, but it paid me back in peace of mind. That Saturday, I was sleeping like a baby. On Saturdays, I always let myself sleep in at least until 9. Slow breakfast, lazy plans for the day. Instead, at exactly 6 a.m., I heard the sound that flipped my whole life upside down. The front door opened. My eyes flew open. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. Someone was in my apartment. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking while my brain tried to boot up. Call 911. Somebody's broken in. I forced myself not to panic and crept to my bedroom door. Out in the hallway, I heard footsteps and something heavy being dragged across the floor. God, what if it was a burglar? What if they had a weapon? I cracked the door open and peeked into the hallway. Kayla was standing in my entryway with 2 massive suitcases. You have got to be kidding me. What the hell are you doing? I yelled. The fear evaporated, replaced by pure fury. I stormed out into the hall in my pajamas. Kayla looked at me with this perfectly calm smile, like breaking into someone's place at 6 on a Saturday with luggage was the most normal thing in the world. Oh, hey, Rach. Sorry I woke you. Woke me? It's 6 in the morning, on a Saturday. Why didn't you call? Or knock? And what's with the suitcases? She shrugged and started hauling her bags further inside. I just decided to come over. No big deal. No big... Kayla, how did you even get in here? Mom gave me a key. I stared at her. Mom gave you a key? To my apartment? Well, it's not exactly your apartment, Kayla said lightly. It's Mom's. She owns it. A cold shiver crawled down my spine. What are you talking about? She dropped her suitcases in the living room and headed straight for my bedroom. My bedroom. My favorite room, with the huge bed and the curtains I spent 3 weeks picking out. This is the main bedroom, she said, looking around like she was touring a listing. Yeah, this one's better. Bigger closet, better view. I'm taking this room. Excuse me. Kayla opened my closet and started flipping through my clothes like it was her wardrobe. You can move into the smaller room. It's not that big, but you'll be fine. It felt like I'd slipped into some kind of nightmare. This could not be happening. Kayla, stop. Get your hands off my stuff and explain what's going on, clearly. She turned around with a sunny smile. Mom said I could move in with you. She thinks it's time I became independent from our parents. We'll be roommates. Fun, right? My head was spinning. This is not happening, I muttered, grabbing my phone. I stepped into the hallway and with shaky fingers dialed Mom. 4 rings before she bothered to pick up. Rachel, why are you calling so early? She groused. It's Saturday, 6 in the morning. Yeah, I noticed. Mom, Kayla just showed up with suitcases and says you told her she could move in with me. What is this? Some kind of joke? Look, sweetheart. Mom started in that tone adults use to explain obvious things to 5-year-olds. Kayla needs to start her independent life, but she can't afford her own place yet. This is the perfect solution. Perfect for who? I could barely breathe from how angry I was. This is my home. You can't just move someone in here without even asking me. This isn't your home, Rachel. It's my apartment. My name is on the deed. The words hit like a slap. I've lived here for 5 years. I've put thousands into renovations. Every corner of this place, it's still mine. Mom cut in. I took a deep breath, trying not to explode. Fine. Okay. How much is Kayla going to pay? How are we splitting rent and utilities? Mom laughed. Literally laughed, like I'd said something hilarious. Kayla's not paying anything, Rachel. You are. That's insane. Why should I pay for her living here when I never even agreed to this? Because you have a job and a steady income. Kayla is still finding herself. I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. This is disgusting. It's not fair. Life's not fair, Mom said calmly. Oh, and by the way, I've been meaning to talk to you about rent. Prices have gone up. Starting next month, it'll be $2,000. Two? Mom, that's double what I've been paying. Market rates have gone up. We have to keep up. $2,000 is above market for this neighborhood. I could find a nicer place for less. Is that a threat? She snapped. Are you saying you want to move out? I'm saying what you're doing is unfair and you know it. Well, if you want to leave, that's your choice. Kayla has 2 friends who are looking for a place. They'll happily pay the full $2,000 without all this drama. It felt like someone punched me in the gut. You're serious? Absolutely. So make up your mind. I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. 5 years of my life. 5 years I called this place home, and my mom was prepared to throw me out for Kayla and her party friends. Kayla stuck her head out of my bedroom. So, when are you moving your stuff into the small room? I want to get settled today. Soon, I managed to say, barely above a whisper. I spent the rest of Saturday glued to my laptop, rage and hurt churning in my chest while I scrolled through Zillow and Craigslist. There was no way I was staying here under these conditions. In the bedroom that had been mine yesterday, Kayla blasted music and giggled on the phone with her girlfriends. I could hear them making plans for all the parties they were going to throw. In my apartment. By evening, I'd found 3 possible places. All of them were smaller than my current apartment and more expensive than what I'd been paying before Mom's ultimatum. But they had something this place no longer did. My dignity and my peace of mind. I booked showings for the next day. I had to get out. Fast. On Sunday, I got up early even though I'd barely slept. Kayla was snoring in what used to be my bedroom while I made coffee as quietly as I could and checked addresses on my phone. The first apartment was a disaster. The photos online were a blatant lie. Inside, it reeked of cigarette smoke, and there were brown water stains blooming across the ceiling. The second was better, but the price was insane for how shabby it was. And then there was the third. Quiet neighborhood, about 15 minutes from Horizon Prep. An older building, but well cared for. The owner, a kind woman named Linda Cooper, gave me a tour herself. It was just a 1-bedroom instead of my usual 2, but it had character. Hardwood floors, big windows, a small kitchen that caught all the morning light. It's $1,100 a month, Linda said, plus 1 month's deposit. First month and deposit up front. More than I'd originally paid Mom, but less than her ridiculous new rent. And most importantly, it would be mine. No surprise roommates. No family drama showing up with luggage at dawn. "I'll take it," I said without hesitation. "When can I move in?" "Next week, if you send the deposit by Wednesday." She smiled. We shook hands. I sent the money that evening and signed a standard lease. I walked out feeling like a boulder had rolled off my chest. I was getting my own space back. On the way home, another thought hit me like a truck. I had poured a lot of money into my mom's apartment over the years. Renovations, furniture, everything. Was I really just going to walk away and leave it all for Kayla and her friends to trash? Not a chance. I'd bought that furniture with my own hard-earned money. I'd spent months saving for that sectional, taken on tutoring gigs just to afford the dining set. Kayla had done nothing to earn any of it. She didn't get to keep it all just because Mom decided to play favorites. That night, I started making a plan. I called Gabe, a friend who runs a small moving company. "Hey, are you free on Wednesday?" I asked. "I need to move some things out of an apartment. And I kind of need it done while the roommate isn't home." "Smells like drama," Gabe chuckled. "You have no idea." I also called my friends Lisa and Eli. They immediately agreed to help pack on Wednesday morning. The plan was simple. Kayla usually left around 10, met her friends at the mall or wherever, and stayed out until evening. That would give us enough time to get everything out. On Wednesday, I took a sick day from work. As usual, Kayla rolled out of bed late, threw on some clothes, and left around 10 to meet her friends. The door clicked behind her. Game on. Lisa and Eli showed up, and we started packing like our lives depended on it. Books, dishes, clothes, decor, everything that was mine went into boxes. Gabe arrived with his crew and the moving truck. We left only the old wardrobe and the ancient dresser in the small room, the pieces that had actually belonged to Aunt Margaret. Everything else? Mine. In under 3 hours, Gabe's guys had loaded the truck. The leather sectional, the dining table, the bed, the mattress, the TV, the bookshelves, all of it. I walked through the apartment one last time, checking if we'd missed anything important. Without my things, the place looked strangely empty, bare. I thought I'd feel sad. I didn't. Just free. I drove behind the truck to my new building, where Linda was already waiting with my keys. "Welcome to your new home," she said, smiling. We spent the rest of the day unpacking and arranging furniture. Lisa and Eli stayed to help. We ordered Domino's for dinner. By evening, the new place actually looked like a home. The sectional fit perfectly in the living room. The bedroom set looked even better in the smaller room than it had in the old apartment. "This place has good energy," Eli said, sprawled on my couch with a beer. "Way better than that family soap opera." I was exhausted, but happy. I'd escaped my mom's circus and found my own space. For once, I was proud of myself for taking control instead of just enduring. Around 9 p.m., my phone lit up. Kayla. I couldn't help smiling, picturing her walking into that empty apartment. I let it go to voicemail. 5 minutes later, another call. Then another. And another. I honestly enjoyed imagining her face when she realized every piece of furniture had disappeared. The expensive furniture she'd probably planned to pose with for Instagram. Finally, around 9:30, Mom's name flashed on the screen. I picked up. "Rachel, what the hell did you do?" Mom's voice was sharp and furious. "I moved my furniture to my new apartment," I said calmly. "You can't just take everything. You can't clear the place out like that." "Why not? I bought all of it with my own money." "But what is Kayla supposed to sleep on? There isn't even a couch." "Sounds like a Kayla problem. Or yours, since you decided to move her in there." You're a spiteful, selfish person. I'm practical, I corrected her. I found a new place and moved out, exactly like you suggested. There was a pause. When Mom spoke again, her voice was icy. Fine. You know what, Rachel? I'm glad you moved out. Kayla's friends are moving in next week and will pay full rent without all this drama. You've shown your true colors. My true colors? I laughed. Mom, you chose Kayla over me. You threw away 5 years where I was a perfect tenant and a good daughter just so you could enable her freeloading. Kayla is finding herself. She's 23. When I was 23, I was working and paying my own bills. You're not helping her by letting her live off everyone. Don't you dare tell me how to raise my kids. I'm not planning to, I said. I'm done with all of this. Enjoy living with Kayla and her friends. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. Then I blocked Kayla and my dad, just in case. That night I slept like a baby, in my bed, in my own apartment. No drama, no uninvited roommates. It was amazing. 8 months went by, and I honestly forgot how peaceful life could be without constant family chaos. My new place became my sanctuary. I love my morning ritual, coffee in my sunny kitchen, getting ready for work while the light spills in. No one blasting music at full volume. No one hogging the bathroom for an hour. The commute is a little longer, but it's worth it. I'm calmer. I don't miss Sunday dinners. I don't miss Kayla's constant begging. And I definitely don't miss Mom's passive-aggressive comments about my life choices. For the first time in years, I could breathe. One day at the grocery store, I ran into my dad's sister, Aunt Susan. We've always gotten along, and she stayed out of the apartment drama. Rachel, honey, how are you? She said, hugging me tight. I'm great, Aunt Susan. How are you? She glanced around nervously and leaned closer. Can we talk somewhere private? We went to the coffee shop next door. She looked torn, like she wasn't sure if she should tell me something. What's going on? I asked. Well, maybe I shouldn't tell you this, she said quietly. But I feel like you should know. Your mom's having problems with the apartment. I kept my face neutral. What kind of problems? Those friends of Kayla's who moved in? They're a nightmare. Loud parties every weekend, music going until 3 in the morning, people coming and going all night. But that's not even the worst part. She paused and glanced around again, lowering her voice. 2 weeks ago, they flooded the apartment below, Evelyn Parker's place. My stomach clenched. I knew Evelyn. She's a sweet older woman who's lived in that building for 30 years. Antique furniture, a collection of rare books. Her whole life is in that apartment. How bad is it? I asked. Bad. Really bad, Aunt Susan sighed. Water poured through the ceiling and ruined a lot of her furniture and books. Some of those books were first editions her late husband collected. They're worth a lot of money. I felt sick. Evelyn was always so kind to me when I lived there. She used to bring me homemade cookies during finals week in college. What happened? I asked. From what I heard, Kayla's friends were throwing another party. Someone left the water running in the bathroom. They were too drunk to notice until it was pouring over the edge. Of course. Evelyn is demanding $60,000 in compensation, Aunt Susan went on. And she's threatening to sue if your mom doesn't pay. She's got paperwork and an official estimate of all the damage. I almost laughed at the irony. Mom was so obsessed with raising my rent that she ended up on the hook for an amount she could have slowly earned from me in rent over years. How do you even know all this? I asked. Evelyn called me, Aunt Susan said. She knows we're related. She wanted to see if there was any way to work things out without going to court. But your mom keeps telling everyone it's not her fault, that she didn't cause the damage. Evelyn's lawyer says, your name is on the deed. You're responsible for what your tenants do. We chatted a bit more before Aunt Susan had to go, but that conversation stayed with me for days. I felt terrible for Evelyn, but I can't say I was surprised that Kayla's friends turned out to be irresponsible idiots. No one has ever held Kayla accountable for anything in her life. Why would her friends be any different? A few days later, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost declined it, but something made me pick up. Rachel, Mom's voice. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about, I said. Please, I need your help, she said quickly. We're having some financial difficulties, and I was hoping you could lend us some money. She clearly wasn't planning to mention Evelyn or the flood. She was counting on me not knowing. Let me guess, I said. This wouldn't have anything to do with Kayla's friends flooding the downstairs neighbor, would it? Silence. How do you know about that? Doesn't matter. You created that mess yourself when you chose Kayla and her wild friends over me, and now you're hoping I'll bail you out? Rachel, we don't have $60,000. That's not my problem. I'm still your mother, she snapped. And I remember exactly how you treated me, I replied. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it. I hung up and blocked that number too. Months went by. I never found out how they resolved things with Evelyn. I assume they either paid or it went to court. Either way, it wasn't my problem. One afternoon I was at the mall, shopping for a dress for a teacher's conference when I saw her. Kayla. She was behind the counter at a clothing store, wearing a name tag, folding sweaters. She looked up, saw me, and our eyes met for a split second. I watched the recognition flash across her face, and then she dropped her gaze and pretended not to know me. She busied herself with the clothes, avoiding eye contact. I walked past without saying a word. What was there to say? She finally had a job. That alone was progress compared to the day she barged into my place with suitcases. Maybe she got kicked out when her friends couldn't keep up with rent. Maybe Mom cut her off after the flood. Whatever happened, seeing Kayla actually earning her own money felt like justice. I left them all alone with the consequences of their choices and built myself a new life. One where my own family doesn't get to exploit me. I have my self-respect, my independence, and my peace of mind. Will our family relationships ever recover? Maybe. But only if they admit they were wrong and sincerely apologize for how they treated me. I'm not going to pretend everything is fine just to keep the peace. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.